Hello and welcome back to Cinema Rules. My name is Sean and today we are reviewing the film In a Violent Nature. Now, In a Violent Nature is the newest horror movie to come out this year. Now, this is, I would say, a B movie, so go into this film with that expectation. It's directed by a guy called Chris Nash, who I believe is his directorial debut with this movie. Immediately, this film intrigued me when I saw the trailer because, as you might know, it is a classic slasher setting and story. However, we actually follow the perspective of the killer. And does it do it well? It's enough to intrigue you. It's enough to draw you in. And I believe it helps to hold your attention for a good half of the movie. But other than that, I believe it's a slight gimmick. Now, I don't think it should bring the backlash in which that word represents, because it is an intriguing way to turn the tables, flip the script. And Chris Nash does it in a way that is very artsy. So this movie actually looks beautiful. There are moments in this movie where I thought, I whispered to Tom actually, that looks like a scene from Friday the 13th. That the old aesthetic. It actually looks like it's been pulled from the 1980s film stock. It gave me such nostalgia in moments, but then it's almost blended with moments that look crisp and HD and I say revolutionary. I mean it kind of juxtaposes the old with the brand new concept, and it blends that quite well. The aspect ratio is not your traditional aspect ratio. It's very artsy in that regard. But then there are moments where it's at night and it's looking at an old cabin and the film grain really pops and some bits are out of focus and it looks imperfect, but perfect because it is imperfect. It feels like it's been taken straight from a scene from the original Friday the 13th. So this movie looks absolutely beautiful, and props should be given to Chris Nash and his cinematographer Pierce Nurk, I believe his name is. I hope I'm not butchering that. Pierce Dirks. They did a really good job in bringing the beauty out in this, and I love the way that juxtaposes with the content in which you get. There are some gnarly deaths in this movie. One in particular is probably one of the gnarliest deaths I've ever seen. Okay, you do get your classic death scenes that you would normally expect from your traditional slasher movies, but then there are inventive deaths and also horrific deaths. We actually this was a secret screening for us when we went to go and see it. So we didn't actually know what film we were going to watch. So the cinema was actually quite busy, to our surprise. And there must have been about 6 to 8 people that left the theatre during certain death scenes. And I was a little bit disappointed because I'm just like, what do you expect? We knew it was going to be a horror and we knew it was going to be rated 18. I just thought they were all a bunch of, pussies. Come on, grow up. But anyway, the performances were a little bit lackluster. However, for me, I don't really mind because it is a slasher movie. I think it could be seen to be played in a way where it's supposed to be campy, the acting and the writing. So whether that was intentional or not, I think it can be easily hidden within the genre in which it sits. So for me, it doesn't bother me as much as it would the next person. But the biggest problem for me is that because you're following the killer for, let's say, 80% of this movie, there's no tension there. There's no scares. There's a lot of waiting around. There's a lot of walking around. And other than taking in the scenery and the aesthetic and the cinematography, there's not much else for the audience to do but wait. And I guess the best part of this movie is towards the end where the perspective changes to a traditional perspective, and you now introduce fear and tension to the audience. But I think there is a reason why people haven't done it before. It's because there's a lack of tension there. It's because there's a lack of suspense if you're following the killer. I appreciate the creativity and the ambition and the experimentation of it. This is what the experimentation of this movie is what interests me. And I guess it interests me more than the average folk because I'm really into film and film analysis and ideas and new ideas. I'm interested in it because of that. But your everyday goer, movie watcher who just wants to go to the movies to watch a horror movie, they're going to be left a little bit disappointed with this one. They tried to do something with the villain of this movie to give it purpose, give it drive, get the audience on board as to why we're following the killer. But was it enough? I don't think so. I think it fell short. I think it was a little bit hollow. But what would I rate it overall? I'd give it a solid 6.5 out of 10. I know that seems low. But it definitely could have been lower, I think. I am interested to see what Chris Nash does next. I think if this is his debut film, then I'm impressed. I'm interested to see what he does next. If this was my first film, if I directed this film and it was my first film, I'd be very proud of it. And I think he should be very proud of it as well. Now, if you want to hear Tom's thoughts on this movie, we will be discussing it in episode 3 of our podcast that comes out every Sunday on Buzzsprout, Spotify, and Amazon, Apple podcasts, as well as a load of other platforms. And it will be released on video format on Monday. And if you're not subscribed, make sure you hit that subscribe button and like the video and hit that notification bell, because we are pretty much releasing content every single day. Movie news, reactions to trailers. We've introduced games onto this channel now, all in the podcast format. Make sure you follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well. Follow up and download our podcast episodes there. If you want to get early access to these videos, podcasts, game shows, movie reviews, link in the description below for our Patreon page. But thank you again for watching Cinema Rules, and we'll see you in the next video. Cheers.